Chapter 23 Strange Answers. Lawyer Plum was there, and one pair of the heirs when Otis Amber danced into the game room. Hee hee hee! The turtle's lost its tail, I see! Turtle slumped low in her chair. Flora Baumbach thought the short, sleek haircut was adorable, especially the way it swept forward over her little chin. But Turtle didn't want to look adorable. She wanted to look mean. The dressmaker fumbled past the wad of money in her handbag. Here, Alice, I thought you might like to see this. Turtle glanced at the old snapshot. It's Baba, all right, except younger. Same dumb smile. Suddenly she sat upright. That's my daughter, Rosalie, Flora Baumbach said. She must have been 9 or 10 when that picture was taken. Rosalie was squat and square and squinty. Her protruding tongue was too large for her mouth. Her head lolled to one side. I think I would have liked her, Baba, Turtle said. Rosalie looks like a very happy person. She must have been nice to have around. Thump, thump, thump. Here come the victims, Sidel Pulaski announced. Angela greeted her sister with a wave of her crimson-streaked, healing hand. Turtle had convinced her not to confess. It would mean a criminal record. It would kill their mother, and no one would believe her anyhow. I like your haircut. Thanks, Turtle replied. Now Angela had to love her forever. Most of the heirs had to comment on Turtle's hair. You look like a real businesswoman, Sandy said. Well, that's an improvement, Denton Deer said. You look nice, Chris said. Only Theo, bent over the chessboard, said nothing. White had moved the king's bishop since the last meeting. It was his move. At last the stares turned from Turtle's hair to a more surprising sight. Judge Ford strode in as regally as an African princess, her noble head swathed in a turban, her tall body draped in yards of hand-printed cloth. She slipped a note to Denton Deer, then sailed to her place at table 4. Goggle-eyed Otis Amber was speechless. They all were, except for Sandy. Gee, that's a nifty outfit, Judge. Is that what you call ethnic? The judge did not reply. Applaud! The local hero has arrived! Doug raised his arms, pointing his index fingers to the flaking gilt ceiling in the I'm number 1 sign, and acknowledged the clapping with a victory lap around the room. Here come the Wexlers, Mr. Who remarked, seating his puzzled wife at table 1. Turtle exchanged an anxious glance with Angela. The last time they saw their mother she was crying her head off. Now the tears were gone from her bleary eyes, but she was staggering, giggling. Her hair was a mess. Sorry we're late, Jake apologized. We lost track of time. They had been clinking wine glasses in a small cafe, the cafe they used to go to before they were married, toasting good times. They had had many good times together, many good memories shared. It seems 3 big wine bottles full. Happy Grace waved at the heirs. She felt so wonderful, so overflowing with love for Jake, for everybody. Hi, Mom, Turtle called. Grace blinked at the young, short-haired girl. Who's that? Jake greeted his partner with a, How are you this fine day? Doug Wynne, replied Madam Who. Having opened the door to the last of the heirs, a tense and troubled Crow took her seat next to Otis Amber. Ghost threatened, she waited for the unseen. Hey, lawyer, can we open these? Otis Amber shouted, waving an envelope. A similar envelope lay on each table. His forehead creased with uncertainty. Ed Plum fumbled through his papers. I guess so, was his opinion. Cheers erupted as the heirs withdrew the checks. Again, Judge Ford signed her name to the $10,000 check and handed it to the doorman. Here you are, Mr. McSuthers. This should tide you over until you find another job. Sandy's heartfelt thanks was muffled by Sidel Pulaski's loud shh. Shh, Grace Wexler mimicked. Then she dropped her head into her crossed arms on the table and fell asleep to the sound of the lawyer's throat-clearing coughs. 12th. Welcome again to the Westinghouse. By now you have received a second check for $10,000. Before the day is done, you may have won much more. Much, much more. Table by table, each pair will be called to give one and only one answer. The lawyer will record your response in case of a dispute. He does not know the answer. It is up to you. Table 1. Madam Sunlin Hu, cook. Jake Wexler, bookie. Bookie? He really must have been distracted when he signed that receipt. Jake studied the 5 clues on the table. Of America and God above. Even knowing his wife's clues didn't help. He'd have to gamble on a long shot. Say something, he said to his partner. Boom! Said Madam Hu. Ed Plum wrote, Table 1, boom. Table 2, Flora Baumbach, dressmaker. Turtle Wexler, financier. Turtle read a prepared statement. In spite of the fact that the stock market dropped 30 points since we received our $10,000, we have increased our capital to $11,587.50, an appreciation of 27.8% calculated on an annual basis. Flora Baumbach slapped a wad of bills on the table and 2 clinking quarters. In cash, she said. Ed Plum asked them to repeat their answer. Table 2's answer is $11,587.50. Sandy applauded. Turtle took a bow. Table 3, Christos Theodorakis, ornithologist. Denton Deer, intern. Ornithologist? His brother must have given him that fancy title when he filled in the receipt. Maybe he would become an ornithologist someday. He was a lucky person, getting that medicine and all. He didn't want to accuse anybody, not Judge Ford, apartment 4D, not Otis, Grain Amber, not the limper, just about everybody limped at one time or another. Today Sandy was limping. I think Mr. Westing is a good man, Chris said aloud. I think his last wish was to do good deeds. He gave me a partner who helped me. He gave everybody the perfect partner to make friends. What is Table 3's answer? The lawyer asked. Denton Deer replied, Our answer is Mr. Westing was a good man. Table 4, J.J. Ford, Judge Alexander McSuthers, fired. We don't have an answer, the ex-doorman responded as planned. The judge looked at Table 3. Denton Deer, her note in hand, shook his head, which meant, no, Otis Amber has not had plastic surgery done on his face. The judge turned to Table 6. Otis Amber could not be Sam Westing. She was right to have trusted him. But Crow was expecting something to happen. Crow knows she is the answer. She knows she is the one. Table 5, Gracie Windacopple Wexler, restaurateur. James Hu, inventor. Grace raised her head. Did someone say Windacopple? Never mind Windacopple, it's our turn, Hu snarled. The lawyer got names and positions all fouled up, and I've got a drunk for a partner. He prodded Grace to her feet. Faces were swirling, the floor was swaying. Grace grabbed the edge of the floating table and gave herself, in a thick, slurred voice, The newly decorated restaurant Who's on First, the Eatery of Athletes, will hold its grand reopening on Sunday. Specialty of the day, fruited sea bass on purple waves. Grace sat down where her chair wasn't. Turtle gasped, Angela looked away, the airs tittered as Jake helped his wife up from the floor. What is Table 5's answer, please? The lawyer pressed. Ed Plum, Mr. Hu said. Yes, sir. That's our answer. Ed Plum. Oh. Table 6. Bertha Erica Crow, mother. Otis Amber, deliverer. Mother? Did I write mother? Crow mumbled. Is that your answer? Ed Plum asked. I don't know, Otis Amber replied. Is mother our answer, Crow? He could have sworn she had signed the receipt Good Salvation Soup Kitchen. Crow repeated, Mother, and that's what the lawyer wrote down. Table 7. Douglas Who, Champ, Theodorakis, Writer. Their clues, a chemical formula for an explosive, and letters OTIS. Doug, basking in glory, didn't care. Theo stood, turned to the man he was about to accuse, and saw the scene in the soup kitchen. Saw Otis Amber cooking soup for the dirty, hungry men. No answer, Theo said, sitting down. Table 8. Sidel Pulaski. Victim, Angela Wexler. Person. Sidel was dressed for the occasion in red and white stripes, leaning on crutches decorated with white stars on a field of blue to match the cast on her ankle. She hummed into a pitch pipe and began to sing one note above the pitch she played. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. What a spectacle she made, her wide rear end sticking out, singing in that tuneless nasal voice. The derisive smiles soon faded as pair by pair the heirs heard their code words sung. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Such a beautiful song, Grace Wexler slurred. But the others sat in somber silence. Even Turtle thought Table 8 had won. What is your answer? Ed Plum asked. Our answer, Sidel Pulaski announced with certainty, is Otis Amber. The heirs listened to the lawyer read the next document, but their eyes stayed fixed on Table 8's answer, Otis Amber. 13th. Okay, folks, there will be a short break before the big winner is announced. Bertha Erica Crow, please rise and go to the kitchen for refreshments. Dazed with fear, Crow rose. The 13th section. 13th was an unlucky number. Judge Ford told Sandy to follow her. Hey, Crow, old pal, do me a favor and fill this for me, he said, handing her his flask as they left through the door. I'll go on the wagon starting tomorrow, promise. Angela left the room too, concerned over Crow's trance-like state. Turtle followed Angela to make sure she didn't end up in the fireworks room again. The judge remained seated, watching the remaining heirs who were watching Otis Amber. The delivery boy had had enough of their suspicions. He swept a pointed finger across the range, imitating the sound of a machine gun. Crow and Angela came back with 2 large trays. Turtle returned empty-handed, puzzled, but much relieved. The judge joined Denton Deer and Chris at table 3, bringing a plate of small cakes with her. None of the heirs have had plastic surgery as far as I can tell, the intern remarked. But your partner sure could have used some. The judge studied Sandy McSuthers, prize fighter's face as he leaned against the open doorway. Their eyes met, and he lifted his flask in a salute. Anybody want a drink? Sure, Grace Wexler replied with a giggle, but Jake gave her a cup of strong black coffee instead. We must keep our wits about us, Mr. McSuthers, Judge Ford said, walking toward him. Sam Westing has not made his final move. Nothing like scotch to clear the head, he replied. He took a long swig, coughed, wiped his mouth on the sleeve of his uniform, and glared at Crow with narrowed, watery eyes. Theo grinned down at the chess table. White had made another move, a careless move. He licked the cake crumbs from his fingers, wiped his hand on Westing paper tea napkin, and took his opponent's queen from the board. At least he had won the chess game. Perched on the corner of table 8, the young lawyer tried to start a conversation with Angela, ignoring Sidel Pulaski, who twice asked, Surely you must have the answer, Mr. Plum. She nudged her partner. Surely you must have the answer, Mr. Plum, Angela repeated sweetly. Oh, of course. At least, I assume I do, he replied. My instructions are to open the documents one by one at the scheduled time. He checked his watch. Oops! He had 1 minute late. Ed Plum hurried to the billiard table, tore open the next envelope, and pulled out the document, cutting his finger on the paper's edge. 14th. Go directly to the library. Do not pass go. Chapter 24. Wrong. All wrong. Grace Wexler clung unsteadily to Mr. Who's arm. Where are we going? Who knows? Who replied. We didn't even pass go. Partner sat with partner at the long library table, moaning with impatience as Ed Plum opened another envelope, removed a tagged key, tried to unlock the top right-hand desk drawer, reread the tag, unlocked the upper left-hand drawer, and found the next document. 15th. Wrong. All answers are wrong. What? Sadell Pulaski cried. I repeat, wrong. All answers are wrong. Partnerships are cancelled. You are on your own. Alone. The lawyer will leave and return with the authorities at the appointed time, and time is running out. Hurry, find the name before the one who took my life takes another. Remember, it is not what you have, it's what you don't have that counts. Madam Who knew from the shifting ice that a bad person was in the room. She was the bad person. They would find out soon. The crutch lady had her writing book back, but all those pretty things she was going to sell, they wanted them back too. She would be punished, soon. How much time do we have? Turtle asked. Ed Plum left the library without answering and locked the door. Oh, my! Flora Baumbach ran to the French doors. They opened. Sadell Pulaski complained of a chill and the dressmaker had to shut the doors, but she left them unlatched, just in case. Mr. Who said the tea tasted funny. Maybe they had all been poisoned. Denton Deer diagnosed paranoia. The doorman, who was pacing the room, replied that anyone who was not paranoid after being told that the murderer would kill again was really crazy. He stopped to pat Turtle's slumped shoulders. Cheer up, my friend. The game's not over yet, Sandy whispered. You can still win. I hope you do. Otis Amber told everyone to sit where he could watch them. Theo rose. I think it's about time we played as a team and share our clues and shared the inheritance. With the murderer? Well, all right, agreed. Sadell Pulaski still thought the answer had something to do with America the Beautiful. Does anybody have a clue word that is not in the song? I'm not sure, Doug said mischievously. Sing it again. No one cared for that idea. It's not what you have, it's what you don't have that counts, Jake Wexler reminded them. Maybe some words in the song are missing from the clues. That makes sense. Does anybody have the word amber? Mr. Who asked. Not again, Otis Amber groaned. You heard the whale. It said all answers were wrong. Well, I was one of the wrong answers. But Mr. Westing wrote the will before the game began, Sadell argued. Perhaps he assumed we weren't smart enough to find you out so soon. Judge Ford did not interfere. Otis Amber could take care of himself. She had to be prepared to defend Crow when the time came. Crow sat with her head bowed, waiting. No one had the word amber, but 2 pairs had am in their clues. 2 ams does not an amber make, Sadell declared. 2 ams stand for America, America. I've got America, Jake Wexler shouted. I've got America. Ravings of a madman, Mr. Who thought. The podiatrist, could he be the one? Jake explained in a calmer voice. The 2 ams could not stand for America, America, because one of my clues is America. Sandy stood, took a long swig from his flask, coughed, and then spoke in a hoarse voice. We're getting nowhere. Why doesn't everybody hand in their clues so Miss Pulaski can arrange them in order and we can see what's missing? Sandy stood, took a long swig from his flask, coughed, then spoke in a hoarse voice. We're getting nowhere. Why doesn't everybody hand in their clues to Miss Pulaski so she can arrange them in order? We can see what's missing. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. The judge watched Sandy collect the clues. Just write them out again, he said to Turtle, who had eaten the originals. Then he placed the paper squares before the secretary and resumed his seat. What was her partner doing? Why was he playing into Westing's hands? He knows the answer. He knows he's leading the heirs to Crow. Again the judge studied the doorman's battered face, the scars, the bashed-in nose, the hard blue eyes under those taped spectacles, the baggy uniform. Everyone was giving the perfect partner, Chris said. Chris was right. She was paired with the person who could confound her plans, manipulate her moves, keep her from the truth. Her partner, Sandy McSuthers, was the only heir she had not investigated. Her partner, Sandy McSuthers, was Sam Westing. The secretary quickly arranged the clues in order. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for waves of crane, for purple mountain majesties above fruited plain, America, God shed his grace on thee, and thy good, with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. The missing words, Sidel Pulaski announced. The missing words are Erica, and Crow. Bertha Erica Crow. Crow paled. Judge Ford stood. May I have everyone's attention? Thank you. Please listen very carefully to what I have to say. We found the answer to Sam Westing's puzzle. Now what are we going to do? Remember, we have no evidence of any kind against this unfortunate woman. Why don't we have proof that Sam Westing was murdered? Can we accuse an innocent woman of murder that has never been proved? Crow is our neighbor and our helper. Can we condemn her to a life imprisonment to satisfy our own greed? For money promised in an improbable and illegal will? If so, we are guilty of a far greater crime than the accused. Bertha Erica Crow, only crime is that her name appears in a song. Our crime would be selling, yes, I said selling for profit, the life of an innocent, helpless human being. The judge paused to let her words sink in, and she turned to her partner. Her voice hardened. As for the master of this vicious game, she paused. What's happening to him? Sandy's hand flew to his throat. He struggled to his feet, red-faced and gasping, and crashed to the floor in eye-bulging agony. Jake Wexler and Denton Deere hurried to his aid. Theo pounded on the door, shouting for help. Ed Plum unlocked the door, and two strange men rushed past him, one carrying a doctor bag, quickly limped on crooked legs to the side of the writhing doorman. I'm Dr. Sykes. Everyone, please move away. The heirs heard a low groan, a rasping rattle, then nothing. Sandy! Sandy! Turtle screamed, pushing through the restraining hands. She looked down at the doorman sprawled at her feet. His face was twisted in rigid pain. His mouth gaped over the chipped front teeth. The taped glasses had fallen from his blue eyes that were locked in an unseeing stare. Suddenly his body straightened in one last violent twitch. His right eye closed, then opened again, and Sandy moved no more. He's dead, Dr. Sykes said, gently turning her away. Dead? Judge Ford repeated numbly. How could she have been so wrong? So very wrong? A sob tore through Turtle's soul as she ran to Baba's comforting arms. Baba, I don't want to play anymore. The second stranger, the sheriff of Westing County, herded them back to the game room. Without thinking, the heirs seated themselves at the assigned tables. Turtle sat quietly. It was Flora Baumbach's turn to weep. Crow waited. Only the throbbing veins in her tightly clasped hands told of her torment. Excuse me, sir, Ed Plum said. I realize this may seem inappropriate, but according to Samuel W. Westing's will, I must read another document on the hour. The sheriff checked his watch. What kind of madhouse is this? And there's something mighty fishy about this cocky kid lawyer calling in the middle of dinner insisting that I hurry right over. That was half an hour before anybody died." "Go ahead," he grumbled. Plum cleared his throat 3 times under the sheriff's suspicious glare. 16th, I, Samuel W. Westing, of Westingtown, born Sam Windy Windacopple of Watertown. I had to change my name for business purposes. After all, who would buy a product called Windacopple's Toilet Tissues? Would you? Do hereby declare that if no one wins, will is null and void. So hurry, 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 step right up and collect your prize. The lawyer will count off 5 minutes. Good luck and happy 4th of July. "Windacopple? Did someone say Windacopple?" Grace Wexler slurred. "I knew Westing wasn't an immigrant's name," Sidel Pulaski said. "I knew it." The man was insane, Denton Deer diagnosed. Shh. They were struggling with their conscience. Millions and millions of dollars just for naming her name. 1 minute is up. The heirs stared at the answer. Bertha Erica Crow, a religious fanatic, maybe even crazy, but a murderer? They had no evidence that Westing was murdered. The judge said so. Crow waited. She had not suffered enough for her sins. Her penance was yet to begin. 2 minutes are up. $200 million, Turtle thought. But who gets it? The last part the lawyer read wasn't very businesslike. Besides, she could never peach on anybody, not even Crow. Who cares about anything anyhow? Sandy is dead. Sandy was her friend, and now she'll never see him again. Ever. Judge Ford tried not to look at the empty chair at her table, McSuther's chair. Her one concern was the safety of Crow. The judge watched the heirs and waited. Crow waited. 3 minutes are up. Westing wasn't murdered. The judge said so. But what about Sandy? He was drinking from the flask Crow filled, and he died choking? Poison? Crow felt the eyes on her, the hating eyes. They scoffed at her beliefs. They joked about her soup kitchen. Only 2 people here mattered to her. She was so tired of waiting, 4 minutes are up. The answer is Bertha Erica Crow. No! Angela cried. No. She's crazy, Otis Amber shouted. She doesn't know what she's saying. Yes, I do, Otis, Crow said flatly and repeated the statement. The answer is Bertha Erica Crow. She rose and turned to the confused lawyer. I am Bertha Erica Crow. I am the answer and I am the winner. I give half of my inheritance to Otis Amber to be used for the Good Salvation Soup Kitchen, and I give the rest of the money to Angela.